DT,
Seb, you legend.
my my man, how are you?
I'm good, my friend. It's been so long.
Oh my God, it's been too long. How have you been, buddy?
Well, man, I was trying to think just before we got on. How are we talking 15 years?
Crazy, man. How's life? How's life in the other side of the world, man? It's so
Yeah,
good to see you.
yeah, likewise, man. Germany, it's brutal at the moment because it's winter. It's quite a hard winter, this one.
Yeah,
It's probably the coldest I've experienced here.
yeah.
But you always spring to mind because I remember when we were back in the day, you and I used to have I remember we used to have conversations about like sort of bigger things and bigger like not to criticize the architecture world too much, but obviously
Mm.
there's things I like about architecture and things I didn't get from the industry.
100%.
The
Yeah,
same with you at the industry. And I think we were at this
yeah.
similar point. We
Correct,
used to
correct.
talking kind of an entrepreneurial way. Do you remember that?
Mm. 100%. I mean, don't get me wrong, but back then we were all still very young and naive at the same time. But at the same time, I think sometimes it's when you're young and naive that you are able to sort of take the leap of faith, because in so many ways you've got less to lose, right?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. We
Yeah,
were young because it was so young. We were finding our way, and it
correct.
was so long
We
ago.
are still young.
we,
We are
we are
young.
still young. No, I firmly believe. I firmly believe, like when you kind of, you're aligned with the stuff you want to do, it keeps us young.
Yeah.
Our kids keep us young,
Oh,
but make us
100%.
old at the same time.
Correct. 100%. 100%.
but
Yes, definitely. No, we've had many conversations in between. Yes.
but I'm interested. What did you like and what did you dislike about the architecture industry back
Oh man,
then?
I wouldn't say that I dislike. Look, I, I would say that I like and I love a lot of aspect of architecture. I mean, it was probably the only thing that I knew I was gonna be good at and that I would enjoy a lot ever since I was a little kid. Um, and it wasn't so much about architecture in itself. I mean, yes, the industry obviously comes with a lot of late nights and constant rush for deadlines and so on and so forth. But I mean, where we were working, it was a great place for me. I mean, it was a great
Mm.
place for everyone. You know, some of the friendship that you still hold on so closely, we all met them at Dinkers, you know?
Yeah.
So I think there's so many aspects of architecture that I actually do love. I mean, despite the long hours and everything, it's something that I really enjoy. And if you ask me, do I still love architecture? I do. What I do not like though is the routine of the 9 to 5 or the 9 to 6 or the 9 to 10. I look at myself and I'm just thinking, man, as much as I love it, can I see myself doing it when I'm 60? I think that was one of the biggest sort of trigger. I'm like, this ain't for me.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting you say that. I have exactly the same memory. I think as we get older, we realize just how fast time flies, and there's so many
Oh, 100%.
cliches around how precious time is. But I had that. It's funny you say that because I had exactly a very similar
Yeah.
realization just watching and
Yeah.
observing. But like you say, man, it's
Correct. Yeah.
whatever industry because I've been in a number of industries and jobs and things, but it's
Mm,
like it's
mm.
always about the people, to me.
Oh,
And
100%. 100%.
that's why that was a very special time because we had this group of people. This we all, you spend time in that
We
environment.
hang out, man, every Friday. We're at the
You
pub,
we
you
see each
know?
other more than our families at that time.
100%. Yeah,
And
correct.
the nature of the kind of the deadlines and everything. So we just had this awesome period of time with such a great group of people, and it was really
Oh,
really
100%.
special time. And
Yeah.
that's why I'm not like I respect that time so much because also there was there's amazing projects in architecture.
Yeah.
That office was trying to do progressive, sustainable work.
Correct.
They still do awesome work. So it's
Correct.
I have a huge amount of respect and lifelong friends, as we
Yeah, same here. Same
as we
here.
say.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's
100%.
it's interesting. We had that same moment. So then when we when we departed and went off on our own journeys into different
Mm.
different fields. When did Eternal Bridal come about? When did that start to happen? What
We
did you do after
okay.
Dink?
So
Yeah.
there was a few factors that led to the change. So firstly was the internal realization, right? That something's got to change. There will be something bigger or more colorful outside of architecture. So that was the first criteria. The second thing that happened was in 2009, if you recall, maybe just after you left, Australia and globally went through a big
Mm.
GFC, financial crisis. And that's when the company that we were working for, I remember one morning we were called upon to the rate area. I can't remember what's it called now, the central area where everyone gathered, and we're like, oh shit,
Mm.
things are not looking good. We never had a meeting on the Tuesday morning before what's going on, and that's when they announced that 50% of the team would have to be cut because of the struggle that they were facing at that time. So at that time, we would have started Eternal Bridal already for about just a bit under 12 months, and it was
Ah,
predominantly online. So in 2000, towards the end of 2008, Lindo and I, we were getting married. So we were obviously just as any other couples in Australia would do, we would, plan for our wedding, look for the men's suit, the woman's dress, the bride's dress and everything. And it was during that period when we were planning that we realized that, hang on a minute, firstly, dresses are very expensive. Secondly, for what you're paying, it doesn't seem like, or at least to us, it doesn't seem like the retailers or the stores are giving you that attention for what you would probably want to feel, right? After spending that much money. So I think it was back in 2008 that we actually traveled back to China, where Lindo's family is from, because the younger brother is getting married. And I remember during the trip we were in China, we decided that, hey, you know what? Let's go look at some dresses here as well, since we're here. And we're completely shocked with the difference between, I mean, the quality is the same up to a certain degree, but the pricing was just, it was just too far apart, right? And that's when we thought that, hey, maybe it's a good idea for us to start up something in Australia, and that's how we started Eternal Bridal. It was purely online. We did not have a store. Our first showroom was actually in our, at our garage in our place in Northcote. So every Saturday and Sunday, if there's people who wanted to look at some dresses, we have a few samples that were made available in the garage. We converted that into a little showroom. And that's how we started, man. And it wasn't until when 2009 happened. I think it was early in February or March, when and Lindo's job was made redundant. So we're there at a cross path where we go, all right, well, what are we going to do here? We've got something that we started. Mind you, it was tiny. It was at its infancy. It was we didn't know where it was going to take us. And on the other side, there's obviously the building industry, the design industry that we are both very passionate about. However, we also know that potentially in the future, every time if there's a GFC, potentially we will be amongst the first one to be cut. So we're at a cross path where we go, all right, do we continue in this industry, or do we sort of take a leap of faith and continue to grow on what we started? So
I
that
love
that was the big milestone for us. Yeah.
I love it, man. You really I didn't realize it was direct, like it was straight transition out of when we were working together. And
Yeah.
I just love that you guys took it into your own hands. And I actually thought, when I was thinking about speaking to you, I thought
Mm.
I wondered if it was your own experience going through your own wedding that sort of started to spark some,
Yeah.
you know? Did
Correct. It
you have
definitely was.
because the fashion industry, I don't know a whole heap about the kind of nuts and bolts of the
Mm.
fashion industry. I've
Mm.
I've experienced a little bit uh here just at events and things. But is
Yeah.
the bridal side of things, the wedding side, is that like an island within the fashion industry, or it's as much a part of the big thing, if you know what I mean?
It is a bit of both. I mean, it's an island in a sense that, there's only so many weddings happening around, in Australia every year. So it's a very, very niche market. That's for sure. And the other tricky part about bridal is that, as much as possible, you actually don't want to see repeat customer, because if you see repeat customer, that means that the marriage, wouldn't have lasted, right?
Yes, I don't mean to
So
laugh,
it's
but
it's
yeah.
that. Yeah, but I mean that is true. I mean, so I think that's one of the things that is very unique for our industry. All right. Whereas if you operate a cafe, for example, Monday you come and you buy a cup of coffee. Tuesday you do the same thing. On Wednesday, when you're doing extra time, you might buy 2 cups. So there's the constant repeat of customer. So Bridal is unique in that sense. But as far as fashion is concerned, fashion it sort of crosses and it there's a lot of overlay with a lot of things. So whether or not if it's bridal, whether or not if it's your daily wear, your evening wear, your formal wear, I mean it crosses a lot of boundaries. So I think in that sense, we are seeing definitely a lot of influence from your mainstream fashion to your couturiers, couture fashion, high artisans, streetwear. I mean, there's a lot of that elements that are all being inspired into what bridal collection is about as well.
I think the thing about a wedding is it's just so personal. So I imagine your clients, your customer, like it's such a personal and delicate thing because they're not just
100%.
they're not just getting
It's
the
not just a garment.
no, it's not a garment. It's so much, and it's like in all aspects of wedding. Like even if you think of like wedding videos, it's a
Correct.
it's a bigger thing because it's like it may be a once in a lifetime
Correct.
experience. So how do you go about sort of catering for
Mm.
how unique it is to the individual or well to the couple.
Well, I think the first thing for us is that we recognize that we're not just selling a dress. There's always a bigger story and a bigger vision behind it. The customer journey, if you like, or the bride's journey with any bridal vendors is actually a very personal one. So, from the first time they get to know about our brand, Eternal Bridal, whether or not if it's through online, social media, word of mouth, or walking past the store, to the many appointments that we would have had with them, prior to them getting married, to them actually picking up their dress, doing their final alterations and fit, it's a journey. So I think for us, a lot of it is about understanding that, you know, essentially what we do is we are privileged in so many ways that we're able to be part of that journey because it is a beautiful journey. It's a very highly emotional journey to a lot of brides. Is a very joyful moment, and often it's not just about the brides; it's about the mum as well. It's about the bridesmaids. It's about the sisters and the dad that all comes together because everybody wanted to be involved. So the fact that you understand so much about what their vision is about, you understand about how they actually met the fiance. You actually make a lot of friends along the way, and I think that's what makes it special. Obviously, I mean, the products, the designs, the styles, the designer that we work with, all these are just, elements for us to be able to connect with them. But ultimately, it's a people to people business.
That must be a very satisfying part of it.
It definitely is. It's very demanding as well at the same time. But yeah, no, there's so many moments that I mean, myself in Eternal Bridal, I do not see brides one on
Mm.
one on a daily basis. On special occasions, on some of the VIP brides, I do. I mean, obviously, Lindo and my team, they do have that one-on-one connection on a daily basis. But even for me, I mean, there are so many occasions whereby just to see that chemistry and just to see the family bond and to hear about how they've met, the two families coming together. Mate, I'm a man, but I'll tell you, there's so many instances whereby I just can't hold off my tears, man. It's
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah.
It's
That
really beautiful to watch.
that's really awesome. I mean, on the face of it, you just see the dress or whatever, but there's so much more to the business when you're dealing with people's
Correct.
journeys and stories and that. So yeah, that's that personal
Yeah.
element. This is the thing. This is just what I'm realizing in like anything that you do. Like if the heart's not there, people know.
Don't waste the time.
It's
Yeah.
very hard to convince or make true connections even in business if your heart's just not in it, because
I can't agree more. I can't agree more. I mean, what's the point, right? At the end of the day, you got to question yourself as well because, as you say, as we get more mature. I wouldn't say older, right? But as the more mature we get, I mean, there's obviously more responsibilities or time is spread thin between business and work and career and family. If you don't have the true heart and intention in what you do, then why waste the time?
Mm.
Why waste the time?
Again, it comes
Yeah,
back to time, huh? But I mean,
correct.
it's interesting for me because I've sort of come in at the stage like uh catching up with you. It's sort of like the recipe, here's the before, and I've sort of skipped the making, and here's the after, the business is
Mm.
successful and running. I imagine in those early days there was a whole heap of challenges and hurdles. Like was it like just a massive grind of hours and trial and error and finding the right people and
Yes, all of the above. And the business is still going through a lot of challenges. I mean, and I think the business will continue to go through many, many challenges. I don't think it's so much so about being so good that you won't have any challenges. I think it's a matter of having to be able to A, lead, and B, to have the team to have the same spirit to understand that no matter what challenges comes, we as a team, we're going to overcome it. I mean, 2019 to 2022, when COVID happens, as you
mm,
know, in Australia and the most part of the world, I mean, it literally weddings came to a halt.
mm,
Our boutique in Melbourne, out of that three years period, I think we were shut because of the government lockdown for a total of 250 odd days. It's one
mm.
of the longest lockdown city in the world, right? I think after Sao Paulo, if I'm not mistaken. So, the past 3, 4 years has been challenging and coming into 2023 as well. I mean, we're coming to the end now, but I mean, 2023 brings its own challenges as well. Um, Challenges will always be a part of the business, and that's what I think.
Yeah.
But over the years, I think, I mean, I'm very lucky as well because, you've met Lindo. She's a very, very hardworking, intelligent lady as well. But I think throughout the years, if there's anything that the business have thought is that it doesn't matter what the challenges will be. I mean, as long as we understand and we believe that we're able to overcome it, we will find our way.
Absolutely, man. The challenges never stop. It's like how you evolve and adapt.
Correct.
Adapt. It's
100%.
it is classic though because you're right. In that pandemic time, like from a business sense, you think of the things you can always rely on, right? People need haircuts. People need this. There's things that are like a sure thing, and weddings is one of
Yeah,
those. Where weddings is
correct.
one of the, all of a sudden even the weddings are off the table. It's like that's your niche.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, wow.
Correct. That's
I
our
did
bread and butter. That's our everything.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't think of that because I noticed here as well,
Yeah.
some weddings go down and stuff. But it must be I just think it's an awesome dynamic, having met you guys, you and Linda when you first got together. Like that's a whole thing of
Mm.
itself. The fact that you guys have this life partnership and this business partnership,
Mm.
that would obviously have its challenges as well. But I really admire
No doubt.
I
No doubt.
how you balance your time, how you balance your time between for me, like
Mm.
as an art, what I'm doing and as an artist, but my son for a while he got a bit confused about like when is daddy working and when is he not, and
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
would be, and it was really I didn't have a very clear with creativity and art and stuff it can all kind of I didn't have a very clear but the more
Nine
I
to
got
five routine.
yeah,
Yeah.
the more I actually reined that in and got my like schedule and routine and that side of things, my time with him became much more quality because
Yeah.
he was much more clear because he would come in to the office or whatever and he's like, I don't know if daddy's working right now or what, should I obviously I keep him aware of everything I'm doing. He's part of that.
Mm.
But anyway, this very clear structure of time helped me as a family have more quality time with
Mm.
him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. 100%.
It's a
Yeah. It is a balancing act. Definitely. I mean, just the the chemistry between Lino and I from a business side and from a personal side and in a family. It took us about 6 years, DT, to understand how do we best work in harmony. 6 years. Took us
amazing.
6 years in a business.
Yep.
But we got there. But I mean, I think there's an old saying that the easiest to break a relationship is to go in the business together with your partner, and that's true in so many degrees. So I mean, don't get me wrong, I've seen a lot of couples as well that runs really successful business, and at the same time, I've seen a lot of relationship that's broken down because of business as well.
Mm. It's a
It's
balancing,
it's a
yeah,
scary
but
business.
I just think it's a real like credit to you guys that you've been able to do that because, like you say, it's not a it's it shows real strength of what you guys have to be able to to back each other up and do that. So that's
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
yeah, it's very cool. Um, so do you obviously is it all local? You use local like materials, like the team.
Design.
Yeah.
No, so I mean, our journey with Eternal Brother, we've evolved a fair bit over the past. I mean, we're in business now for 14 years now. Next year will be our 15 years. When we first started, Linda was predominantly doing a lot of design herself. That was the beginning of Eternal Bridal. That's where we had Lindo and one salesperson in the store. For the first 2 years of the start of Eternal Bridal store, I was working 7 days, 5 days in architecture, Saturday and Sunday. I would turn into a storekeeper, if you like, working alongside with Lindo. So I think in the beginning, we sort of started with Lindo designing her own dresses as well. And I think it was in 2011, I think, or 2012, that we decided that, hey, you know what? We kind of see in terms of the market, everyone is sort of swimming towards one direction, where they want to make it as affordable as possible, as value money as possible. And that's where the majority of the pool are swimming towards. We sort of took a deliberate decision to basically swim the other direction. So I think it was in early 2012 that we started working exclusively with designer labels from New York. So Lindo, I remembered, flew to New York after we started chatting to a big design house in America. Lindo flew to New York, and we decided that what this is something that we haven't seen in the market. We feel that this is going to bring something different to the market, and that's our first sort of attempt to work with an international label. Fast forward about 10 years later, what we are known now in Australia as a bridal brand is that we are the go-to place for your sort of luxury and premium designer labels. That's who we are now.
Ah, cool. I love this analogy of like
Mm.
swimming the other way, you know.
Yeah, it's a risky move, but I think in the long run, if you do it right, it's risky. I mean, but that's with most things as well, right? Up to a certain degree, you got to be able to take a certain level of risk, just to really test it out, right?
Mm. The thing is, you guys are just an example of like going all in on it, and being willing to take that risk, particularly with a
Mm,
family. Like that's not an easy thing to do. But those risks, regardless of which way, the outcome, they're always like they teach you
mm,
things. They you can pivot. It's not until
correct.
you throw down in one direction. Maybe it doesn't
Mm.
go how you think it's going to go, but it always teaches you something, right?
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Mm.
Yeah.
And and I imagine like there's a heap of like you've done like big catwalk events and so on to display
Yeah,
all it. Yeah.
it's correct. I mean, it's actually a part of the business and the industry that I really enjoy. So my sort of role at Eternal Bridal is I look after obviously relationship with designers. I look after the marketing side. So I work with my marketing team, on our social media, Instagram and TikTok. Heaps of fun, heaps of things to learn. But a big part of what makes Eternal Bridal unique in our region is that we, I think again, it was about maybe now 10 years ago where we decided, because I travel to New York often on a yearly basis. I would travel to New York to look at different designers, to attend runways, etc., etc. And I realized that it was something that Australia have never seen before. I mean, yes, we
Mm.
do have some of the fashion runway, but never one that was designed specifically around bridal. So I think it was in 2012 when I came back and I said to Lindo, we ought to do something like this because we're missing out big time in Australia, you know? So 12 years ago, we did our first showcase up here in Sydney. And I remember reaching out to a lot of industry friends as well about this big plan and, getting everyone together and we held our first ever bridal show runway, if you like. And it was amazing. It was so successful. It brought the industry together. It was nothing like the industry I've seen before. It obviously brought all the media partners, all the brides together, and ever since we've run many, many showcases, it's now a big part of our DNA.
That's awesome, man, that you found this, you brought it to Australia like it hadn't really been done. And so now
Mm.
you've also had to be like a bit of an event organizer as well, right?
Correct. But I mean, for me, I enjoy that part, man.
Yeah.
DT, you
Yeah,
know me,
yeah.
I enjoy talking to people. I mean, if people have the same sort of, often it's not about selling people something that they don't need. It's not about that, right? It's about, hey, I've got this idea. It always starts with an idea, right? I've got this idea. And if you're able to sort of create something that makes sense, something that is meaningful for not just yourself, but everyone that is involved. The media partners that comes along, the venue, the people that helps with the food and the catering, the models, the makeup artists, the hairstylists. If everyone understand the vision and if everyone can, I wouldn't say win, but if everyone can sort of see the value in what we're doing, then it makes sense. So yeah, 12 years later, we're still doing many, many different showcases. We're now planning for two rather big one next year in February and May, whereby we're introducing two new additional international designers that will be joining Eternal Bridal. Um, but yeah, it's fun, it's dynamic, it's meaningful, and I enjoy it. I love it.
Again, it goes back to like that vision and the spirit of your team and like everyone being on the same page and the ethos of it. Seb, you've always been a
Mm.
man of the people, you know? So it's like
I think we all are. That's why there's
yeah.
a few of us that really click, all right? I mean, work is work, work up to a certain degree. There's a lot of, I wouldn't say rules, but there's a lot of framework around it, but outside of work, when you're having a chat, when you're hanging out, that's when you really understand each other because work, I mean, yes, you spend a lot of hours, but you can understand that's one part of our life, you know. So I think we all are. Yeah, we all are. I remember yourself, uh, definitely Adrian, Darren, everyone is super fun, man. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was unique guys for
Yeah.
sure. Um, for anybody who's like maybe a bit stuck and trying to make a transition into something new like you guys did, maybe take
Mm.
a bit of a risk, what would you say to them?
I think that's a very hard question. That's a very hard question because everyone could at any one point be at a bit of a roadblock, but everyone's position will be quite different in terms of the road that they've traveled through before. The things that they feel that they're risking is so different. Um, I think for me the biggest drive behind everything that I do or we do as a family unit is that I don't want to be in a position whereby I want to, one day I'll look back and say, I wish I would have tried that. I think that's, you would have heard this many times before. Up to a certain degree, it's a bit cliche as well, but it is true though. Have you not tried it? How would you know, right?
A-
And we always work on the case of what's the worst case that could happen if we decide to do this and if we fail. I think that's the two biggest questions for us.
that's massive, man. Like I'm the
Yeah.
same. It's like, touch wood, get to being an older bloke and like sitting there and it's like, there's gonna be regrets, right? But it's more like I knew I had a swing at that, and I had a swing and it didn't
Mm,
necessarily work out, but it's like at
correct.
least I had the swing, and it's like I'm cool if I take the swing and it doesn't work, that's cool because at least I've had the swing
Correct.
at it, that's totally fine.
Yes.
The
Yes.
that regret would be there if it's like I wish I'd taken the swing, as opposed to taking it and
Yeah, I can't agree more, man.
yeah.
I mean, the the simple thought of, when I know we're not quite there yet, and we're not even halfway there yet, right? Hopefully, but I mean the thought of, at the end, because at the end of it, what really matters to you, right? I mean, to me, everything that I have done till date, I don't think I'm chasing anything, DT. It sounds really funny that I say that, because I'm surrounded with a small group of friends, but very very close. Some friends, they're doing exceptionally well. I'm talking about these people that when I hang around them, I'm like, wow, you guys are running like 200 miles an hour, da 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 da, very successful in their own rights. And I have some friends that I just simply love hanging out and super chill, super laid back. And they will constantly ask me, they're like, Seb, you're working so hard, man. You're chasing this and I'm chasing that. I try to explain to them that I'm actually not chasing anything. I mean, for me, these are all my personal agendas. I wanted to do it because I wanted to do it. I think I'm done, and I've realized that, look, I'm not gonna play anyone's game. I'm not gonna chase anyone's dream, because at the end of the day, you will never stop comparing. I mean, what is the point? But if you do things that matters to you, like you said, right, whether or not if you're successful, or whether or not if you fail, or whether or not you're kind of halfway there, the fact is you gave it a really good shot, and that matters to you. So when you look back, you go, you know what, I did it, I tried it, I gave it my all. There's no regret there.
The thing is, you're also directly impacting the lives of people and their experiences. They're very, as I say, perhaps once in
Yeah,
a lifetime experience. So, as much as it's,
correct, and that makes it beautiful.
yeah, as much as it's fulfilling for you guys to see that knock on and all that, like that's got to be really, really satisfying, right?
Yeah, I mean that's why Bridal. I mean, it's a unique business. It's a very niche business, but it's very meaningful, very very meaningful.
For sure, man. Where can people find it all? Like, there's obviously the main sites and everything. What's the best way to check it all out? And you as well. Like,
Yeah. I mean, we're now located in both Melbourne and Sydney. So Melbourne, we've moved around a few locations, but right now we're in Sapia on Chapel Street, right opposite to Gem Factory.
cool. I
Yeah, yeah,
didn't realize
yeah. Obviously,
you have like a boutique store there, right there.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, we have a
Awesome.
boutique just right opposite to Gem Factory. Obviously, Chapel Street, as you would remember, is like the fashion capital, is the where all the high-end fashion is. In Sydney, we're located in the Strand Arcade, which is in the city. Right opposite to Apple Store. We're surrounded by all the biggest retailers as well, all the LVMH brand. So certainly we do have quite a good presence and prominent presence in both Melbourne and Sydney. But social media is a big part of what Eternal Bridal is as well. So if you go on to Instagram at Eternal Bridal, go on to our TikTok, which is again is such a new platform to me until 12 months ago when I really dropped my head into it. But we're quite prominent on those two platforms. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome,
And for
man.
me, how do you find me? I'm just another guy, man. You'll
But
find me on DT's podcast. That's where you'll find me.
no, but I think what you're doing is quite inspiring, and I mean, as a mate, I mean, I love to just pick up where we left off, but also just in
Yeah.
terms of I always have a massive amount of respect when I see someone else just taking a swing and going at their you know so yeah, it's really awesome to see.
Thank you, man. And likewise as well, man. I've been obviously watching your journey and career as well, and it's very, very exciting for me to see as well. I wanted to see that you're able to grow as well, individually as an artist, obviously a unit, as a family, as a unit as well. But you did the same thing, man. You took the leap of faith. You went with where your heart wants to go. Um,
I appreciate
and I
that.
think
Yeah,
I think that's probably something that is very easy to say, but it's very hard to do.
very much so. And in my case, like looking back a little bit, to not only move to a foreign country and then to
Mm.
change my career path into the arts and into the entertainment industry and
Mm.
storytelling and film. I had people tell me, I had to be very realistic about it. I had to be like, I have a family and so on. Is this really, like, realistically, is this the time to but again, for my son, I'm like, if my son doesn't witness me having a swing at the things that I love, that's not necessarily the best for him. If I'm stuck in a job that's
Mm.
affecting my health, that's worse than him seeing me swing at things and fail. You know what I mean? Because he's seeing me. Our
Mm.
kids just watch us all the time, right? They're observing us.
Mm.
So anyway,
Oh, 100%.
yeah,
Yeah.
to come to Germany and then go, right, I'm going to pursue acting and film and storytelling. It was like people
Yeah.
literally said, "You are crazy," like, "You are crazy," to my face. But and
yeah, correct.
I understood where it was coming from, but it kind of drove me at the same time. I was like, I believe I can do this, and I believe I can do this anywhere, and I believe I have unique things to
Mm.
offer, regardless of just being an Australian in Germany. So then I was like, went through this whole process of eventually getting to a point like you did, where I'm like, how can I take this more into my own hands, as opposed to sort of trying to hit the gatekeepers and
Mm.
not knock on all the doors. And that's,
Yeah.
in the past few years, that's when I've got very much focused on, like, making my own stuff. And but
Yeah.
I had to go through this massive amount of learning and experience and trial and error, as we all do. So but yeah, it's
100%.
it's been
I mean, I'm gonna tell you something, and I don't want to freak you out, but this is a bit. The timing of this is just a bit freaky. I'll tell you what, all right? Now, because I'm in my study room, it doesn't have the best lighting, so I actually had my computer screen open, right? That's where I'm resting my phone. Okay. Now, the computer is logged on to Linda's email, personal email. I think this is, all right? I'm not supposed to be looking at her email, but I saw a name that was very familiar, Kristen.
okay.
You remember
Yeah,
Kristen,
yeah, yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Kristen. Kristen was my mentor for good two
Mm,
to 3 years at Design Inc. He took me under his wing. He gave it all to me, man, the good and the bad, like old school, old days schooling. Is like, if
mm.
I don't know if I can say the F word, but
You can. You can.
if I fuck up in front of everyone, he'd be like, Seb, what the fuck is this? Blah blah blah. He really taught some real hard values into my early stage of my career. So I remember that Kristen and Rowan actually. And I remember it was last year that after all these years of living Dink, I said that I said to Linda, I really want to visit Rowan and Kristen, and just to take them out for lunch, and just to
Mm,
say the things that I never knew and that I never valued so much when I was going through it. I knew that I was under good hands. I knew that I was working hard as well, but I never knew of the value that it will later help in my career in so
mm.
many ways. So long story short, we haven't been in touch on a regular basis, but I just saw 4 days ago, he actually sent Lindo an email. I'm just reading this, and Lindo hasn't informed me yet. The title is Seb's 40th. Sent from Chris. I'm turning 40, by the way, in the next 3 days, TT.
Oh, in
Crazy,
three
eh?
days. Wow.
I know. I'm gonna hit my midlife crisis
I
very
love
soon.
it.
Anyway, a beautiful email from Kristen. Hi, Linda. Hope you're well. These milestones are great. Enjoy the party. Congrats, Seb, as you celebrate your 40th birthday. You join us at Dink, young, fresh, and very enthusiastic. You were always trying to run ahead, ambitious, questioning, and with a bright future in front of you. Your move from architecture has been a successful step. You were ready. You and Lindo now will, with a lovely family and a glowing business. Congrats, Seb, in all that you've achieved. Here's to your next milestone.
Man, that's awesome. That's so cool that he's done that. Like, to appreciate.
Yeah, no,
Eh,
I mean, no, I mean, the fact is, like you said, right? Every steps of your, sorry to cut you off there, right?
no, no.
But every steps of the journey that we've been through, you might not, you might not understand it at that time. You might not. you might not see the reason, but eventually, the universe works in a weird way.
Mm.
Eventually, it will come to your realization that you will go, oh, that happened for that reason. I went to, one of the biggest and the most successful firm in architecture in Melbourne for a reason. There's a reason why there was this gentleman that really took the effort in schooling me. I mean, all of this, it all makes sense sometimes. It will make sense.
It
It
really
will make
does.
sense.
It makes sense in
Yeah.
hindsight. It's hard to see it at the time, but then in hindsight, it makes sense. And those
Isn't it funny?
that's hilarious, man. And those I'm just not sure how Lyndall's going to react opening the emails, right?
Nah, she'll be fine. She knows my password as well.
That's part
We're a
of the
unit,
part.
remember?
Yeah. But uh no, like you say, in hindsight, like you may not realize it at the time, but I mean, I went to London to try and become a rock star, right? And I,
Mm,
as a result of that, that experience, call it a failure. Like it was an amazing experience, but it fell apart. But as a result,
mm,
I ended up in Germany with a family, which was a far greater gift. And also
yes.
the experience in London was very much like accelerated like self growth because I was on stages and things were going wrong and I was trying to
Yeah.
so what I'm saying is the reason I went there, I had kind of a bit of a superficial I'm going to be, it wasn't, I was very determined. It was like I want to really like,
You're
but
chasing a dream. You're chasing
yeah,
a dream. Yeah.
absolutely chasing a dream. But what it gave me was so much more valuable, but it also what it gave me was so different to what I anticipated, right? But now, like you're saying, in
Yeah.
hindsight, I'm like, I wouldn't have wanted it any other way.
Yeah. You wouldn't ended up in Germany.
So
I
it's
mean, you know what I mean? We start seeing all these points together. It's like, so sometimes I think, sometimes you can question as much as you want. You can always ponder upon, one particular issue for as long as you want. You can always contemplate for as long as you want. Or sometimes you could just go, you know what? My gut is telling me that this is right. I've discussed this with my partner. I think this is the best for me, for us. Give it a shot.
and
Um,
and and
it,
Seb, I
it
have
will
to,
make sense. It will.
I absolutely, I have to say, I don't think there's a midlife crisis for you at 40 because you because you're doing what you like. Like you said, you're not chasing, man. You've been working towards this stuff. I think that crisis can
Mm,
maybe happen when you get to that and you're like, I haven't been taking these swings. I haven't, had that's when it's like, what am I doing? So I know you're joking, but I don't think
mm,
there's any danger of you know what I mean? The more
yeah.
the more I've got in line with at least trying to go towards my dreams, the better that has been for me. There's no crisis for
Mm,
me. That doesn't put aside like the challenges and all that, but it's like,
yeah.
this is why I just think like, I mean, you look at the Rolling Stones and stuff, they're like fucking 80, 90, but
Yeah.
they've
Still rocking on,
always
man.
they're still rocking on, and I'm like, how are they not like
Yeah.
they should have fallen over 100 times?
Yeah.
But it's I just think it's
It's all in here, right?
yeah, they're doing what they love. They have been their entire life, so
Yeah.
it's like it's a weird thing. But
It's inspirational. But again, I mean, that's the thing. I don't think that they're not doing it for anyone.
mm,
They're not chasing no one's dream. It's for me. It's so much of it is my personal agenda. It's my personal journey. It's my. Yeah, I even go as far as saying that it's not so much about the money. I mean, don't get me wrong. Money is important. Let's face it, right? For businessmen to say that money is not important, I call it bullshit.
mm.
Straight on. For me, it's not about chasing that. It's important. It's a big part of the business. Don't get me wrong, but what keeps me ticking every day, man, it's not that. It's about, all right, what else can I do? What else can I create? What other things can I create? And something that is meaningful, that is impactful, something that I want to look back when I'm 80 or 90 years old and go, remember DT about the show that we did together? That was fucking phenomenal. Fuck, we did lose a lot of money, but you know what? That was the best fucking party ever. It's things like that. It's to me that's happy, man. To me that's rich, to be able to really give it a go. That's everything. That's everything.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. Well, we could really we could go on. We have, like you say, we have to do it in person. Uh I I haven't drunk in like 5 years, but whiskey in hand, some sort
Wow,
of.
really?
Yeah, yeah. No, when no, my priorities really changed when particularly
Mm.
with my son and just time, and it wasn't serving me like it just wasn't serving. London was obviously quite a big time, and then
Yeah,
the whole band tour kind of touring thing. But
yeah, yeah,
alcohol just it just no longer served me because it was just slowing me
yeah.
down and my focus, and
Right.
it was one of those things that kind of had a little bit of a grip on me in a way of like
Mm.
I'm not cool that I'm seeing some nights where it's perhaps gone a bit too far. So anyway, I
Yeah,
was like I'm just
yeah,
going to do a month or whatever, and then next thing you know,
yeah.
it was 5 years. So
Wow. So you're talking about completely no
yeah,
drinking.
I had a whiskey with
That's
a
impressive, man.
yeah, thank you. I had a whiskey with a friend about 5 years ago in like a whiskey room, and I was just like, oh, I think I'm gonna just give it, maybe a month or so. And
Yeah,
then
yeah,
at
yeah.
the end of the month, I was like, I'm gonna keep it rolling. And then next thing you know, it was
Oh,
like
that's
5 years.
awesome.
But I mean, I go a little bit extremes. I swing one way and then the other.
Yeah,
It would be nice to
yeah.
find the middle a bit more, but I just have a sort of a bit like I'll have coffee and then it's like no coffee, just kick it. It's and then it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
there can be more of a middle, I think.
Yeah, right, 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 right. Right. Well, we'll see when we meet up. It doesn't always have to be whiskey. I'm happy with coffee as well. What I want is just some quality time to really reconnect, man. I mean,
Absolutely,
I,
absolutely.
I feel, there's so many people that I remembered and I cherish. I will cherish forever from our period together. At the company, at the firm. Alex is doing some amazing things as well.
Hmm.
Alex and Sharon in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
UK.
yeah.
That's inspiring to see. I mean, obviously, Adrian has moved on very well
Hmm.
as well in the company. I see Kristen and Rowan still being so passionate in what they do. I mean, these are all great people, man.
Hmm.
All great people. All great people.
Definitely, man. Definitely.
So, I mean,
I
there's no right or wrong. It's not, it's not in or out of architecture. At the end of the day, it's everyone doing what they love, and this is what they love, and it's inspiring.
yeah, I appreciate you reminding me of all that, and it's very timely of the email too, because
It's just freaky. It's freaky, man.
yeah, well, the timing of things, timing of things is always
Oh, 100%. There
but
you
no,
go. Everything happened for a reason.
yeah, for sure. But Seb, I really like it's been awesome to see your journey, and it's great to pick up where we left off. And yeah, let's do it in person.